Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Bob's Live, our weekly show right here on the internet. And well, normally we're live every Tuesday evening, but yesterday afternoon we actually had a IT issue at one of our stores, so I had to go out on, I guess you would call it a service call, but I had to go troubleshoot an issue, so I wasn't able to go live yesterday evening. So, we're going to do it this evening instead. And this week I have kind of a short program for us. Um, the main thing that I want to talk about is this stinking heat wave. But first, I wanted to talk about something that we have going on our website right now. So if you head over to bobsmarket.com, up at the top of our website there's a little banner. And right now we're having a contest that is the Garden of the Summer contest. And it's super simple. All that you need to do is share your name, your email address, and your phone number. That's just for contact information. And then also, you need to send a picture of your garden. So it could be a flower garden or a vegetable garden. And what it is a photo contest of sorts, basically. So the winner, you're going to get some awesome prizes. But also, if you're here locally, I would like to come out and kind of do a quick interview and do a little tour of your garden. And then we can share it right here on Bob's Live. So if you've got a garden that you want to share and you want to show it off, this is your chance to be the Bob's Market Garden of the Summer. So I know a lot of you have beautiful gardens. I've seen photos, I've seen some of them in person, and I want to be able to share it because, you see my garden just about every week here on Bob's Live. And I know a lot of folks out there have really beautiful gardens. And, the contest, it is running now through July 1st. That's when I want to get all of the entries in. So, again, all that you need to do, it doesn't have to be even a, super good photo because the main thing that I'm judging is the garden. So it could be something that you shoot on your phone. On the form, there's a little upload button where you attach a photo. It's super easy to do. I tested it on my phone, so I know at least that it works really well on Android. Um, and then all of those entries go right into my inbox, and I just have a folder set up in my email for it. But let me find my mouse here. There we go. But yeah, so share a photo of your garden, flower, or vegetable for a shot at being the Bob's Market Garden of the Summer. You'll win some awesome prizes and be featured on an episode of Bob's Live. This contest is open to all customers in the Mid-Ohio Valley. So yeah, for this, I need to be within driving distance of your garden. So if you're on the other side of the U.S., not really going to work. But yeah, within reason of Mason. But yeah, contest ends Tuesday, July 1st at noon. That's when I would like to have all of the entries in. And then I'm going to be announcing the winner the next week on Tuesday, July 8th. So, yeah, shoot for getting your entries in 1 week from today. And then a week after that, we'll be announcing the winner. So, go ahead and enter. And again, this is the entry form here. It's just first name, last name, email, phone number. And then there's a spot here to upload a file. And it has to be an image file. So a PNG, a JPEG, a TIFF, which I don't think a lot of people have phones that shoot that, or HEIC, which is like the Apple photo format. So that is our Garden of the Summer contest. And see, Shirley's watching. Hi, Shirley. um, Up next, I wanted to talk a little bit about the weather because right now it is stinking hot outside. And I've got this great little cartoon. Well, it's down here. Um, yeah, I saw this today on Facebook. I just had to share it. So, it's an angel looking at an oven and there's a fire and is asking God, like, hey, what you got cooking? He's like, Appalachia. Because like stepping outside right now, it's like if you want to know what it's like inside of an air fryer, just step outside. It is toasty. So if I jump over to the weather right now, it is 94 outside. We did have a thunderstorm here nearby a little bit ago. We got like, I think maybe 5 drops of rain here in Mason, so it sprinkled for like a half a second. But yeah, the storm, it kind of went to the north of us, but we are getting little pop-up thunder showers today. But yeah, it is 94 outside. The real feel right now, or feels like, based off the humidity, is 104. It is hot. Like, it's not just like dry heat, it is humid, stifling, like hard to breathe, hot out. And that's what I wanted to talk about this evening, is what you can do to help your garden out in this heat. So let's talk about some tips for your garden. Before that, let me scroll down a little bit so we can take a look at the extended forecast. So today's going to be hot, tomorrow's going to be hot, Friday's going to be hot, Saturday's going to be hot. But at least on Saturday, that's when we're looking at rain starting to move into the region. And then moving into... Oh, there we go, just reloaded. Moving into next week, it finally looks like we're going to drop back down. Not a lot, though. We're talking going from 90s down to 80s. So summer is definitely here. I see Patty just joined us. Hi, Patty. But yeah, it is blooming hot outside. So I thought I would share some tips for dealing with the heat and kind of taking care of your plants. So a lot of it comes down to water in the heat. You've got stuff that'll definitely show you when it's needing water. Things like New Guinea impatiens, if they start to dry out, you're going to know it because they just kind of melt and look all wilty. And again, I've covered that in the past, that if you have something like a New Guinea that looks like it's dead and it's all wilty, usually you can revive those by soaking them in water. So either soaking the root ball with a watering can and making sure that it is wet, because if it's in a hanging basket, a lot of times that water will just run around the dry root ball. But another way you can be sure is to fill up a bucket of water and set the container down in the bucket of water so it soaks up the water. So that is a great option for reviving things like hanging baskets. You also, right now, you want to water either in the morning or the evening. Now, I know there's always a debate on morning watering versus evening watering. I do both. It kind of depends on my schedule and what I have going on. Sometimes I'll hit stuff in the morning. Of all times for this to happen, my air conditioner died on Sunday. So I had a repair technician come out on Monday to work on our air conditioner. And he showed up to the house. It was around 9 a.m. So while he was around working on the unit, I took that time to water everything that morning. But normally, I water in the evenings. Now, a lot of people kind of say, no, don't water in the evening because then the plants stay wet overnight and there's more of a chance of starting, fungal growth. In a heat wave like this, I don't really think that matters. And it's just been my own experience that I've never had issues with watering in the evening. Uh, so I say, morning, evening, it doesn't really matter as long as you're getting the water on in that cool part of the day. Um, if anything, I tend to lean toward evening watering because if you water in the morning, it gets hot throughout the day. That water evaporates more quickly. So by watering in the evening, you're keeping that water in the soil longer so it can be absorbed by the plants. Along with that is mulching. You want to mulch. What that does is it forms a barrier to prevent evaporation and helps hold moisture in the soil. A good layer of mulch does wonders for holding moisture in the soil and keeping your plants looking nice. And then also, like, if you're watering things like hanging baskets and containers more often because of the dry weather, that's going to leach more fertilizer or more nutrients out of the soil. So you need to be replacing that with fertilizer. So making sure that you stay on a fertilizing schedule and you're not skipping out. I know it's easy to do sometimes. It's like, hey, fertilizer, I've got it stored over in the garage. I don't want to have to walk all the way over there and get it. My watering can's right here. Take the extra 30 seconds, go get the fertilizer, make sure you fertilize. So yeah, watering, very important. Up next is keeping stuff cool. So there's a couple things you can do. Number one is if you have stuff in containers, move it to a cooler area. A hanging basket hanging out in full sun right now, it's not going to be too great on it. So if you've got an area where it's got some part shade, if it's something that needs full sun, like calibrachoas or petunias, you might want to move them to an area where they get a little bit more shade. And that just helps them stay a little bit cooler, especially during the peak of the day. So around noon when it's like super hot. Bring them into an area where they get a little bit more shade, and that'll help kind of nurse them through this heat wave. Out in the garden, use shade cloth or row covers or different strategies like that to kind of shade your plants and keep them cooler. This time of year, usually mid-July, early August is when I start usually another crop of leaf lettuce going into fall. I always start it under a row cover, and I actually use the same row covers that I use to keep frost off the plants. But the row covers that I have, I can open up the ends, so that way I'm getting a nice cross flow of air through it, so it doesn't roast them inside. Instead, you're shading them and keeping them cool. So row covers is a great option. I know they make like netted shade cloth that you can put on. It's a little bit less, I don't know how to describe it. It's a little bit more of a mesh than like a fabric row cover like you would use for frost protection. But it helps shade and kind of help keep your plants cool that way. Up next, this is a big one. Avoid transplanting and pruning. So right now is kind of the optimal time of year to prune like evergreens. So things like your pines and stuff like that. So you want to be going in and removing like damaged branches and stuff like that. Also, with fruit trees, you can kind of go in and lightly prune them this time of year, um, especially where we've had the locusts. You can go out and start pruning out some of the locust damage right now, but you want to avoid that if it's really hot out. The same thing goes for transplanting. Uh, Whenever you transplant a plant, you're disturbing its roots. It goes through a period of transplant shock, and that added to the heat right now can kind of doubly harm the plant. So it kind of puts a lot of extra stress on it. So if you are transplanting, you want to make sure that you're watering and taking extra care of your plants. So when I say avoid transplanting, I'm talking like heat of the day, middle of the afternoon transplanting. That's something that you want to watch out for. If you do have to transplant right now, do it early morning, evening. Make sure you water it in really well. And then also make sure you're putting mulch around something. So that will help kind of mitigate that transplant shock right now. And then the last thing is with your garden. You want to make sure you're going out and harvesting regularly. I'm going to kind of wrap myself out here, but I harvested peas. I was going through harvesting them. I harvested the last big bunch of peas that I had. Thought that I had enough left. There were still some small pods that were kind of developing. I thought, yeah, I can get one more harvest out of them. This heat wave hit. All my pea plants they're toast. I went out, they're yellow, they're done. But yeah, going out and checking kind of often of what is ready to be harvested and making sure you harvest it. Make sure it kind of helps to make sure that you don't end up with a situation like that where you've got something that's kind of ready to be harvested, but because of the heat, you just go slightly past that time period, that optimal time for harvesting, and then you're maybe not getting the best vegetable that you could out of your garden. I'm keeping an eye right now. I've got some cabbage plants that are just right on the cusp of being ready to harvest. And yeah, I'm walking out, trying to every evening when I get home, if not at least every other day, going out and taking a look at my garden and checking on what's ready to be harvested. Of course, right now, I think a lot of you are like me. I'm kind of in that transition period between spring gardening and fall gardening. So, about the only thing that's edible in my garden at the moment, I just finished harvesting my peas. I still have some onions that I'm pulling. So, my onions, I grow most of them for green onions, but then I just sort of harvest them all throughout the summer. And then I'll end up, with a few of them that are a nice, good size in the fall. But I do have right now, I've got tomatoes that are about yay tall. So I'm keeping an eye on them. I just mulched them the other day right before this heat wave hit. And then I also have summer squash that's just starting to sprout, where I'd taken out my, let's see, what did I have there? Broccoli and cauliflower. So I took out my broccoli and cauliflower plants, tilled up that bed, and now I have summer squash growing there. And then I also have pepper plants. So that was where I had my kale and Brussels sprouts back in the springtime. It's now pepper plants there. And I was looking at it yesterday. I've got some little garden salsa peppers that are just about ready to be harvested. So again, that's something that I need to be keeping an eye on. Well, that is all the tips that I have. And of course, when it comes to garden tasks and tips like this, you can check out our podcast, the Keep Growing Podcast. It comes out every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. And I cover our gardening tasks for the week ahead. We look at the weather and then kind of use all that to come up with a plan for the week ahead as far as gardening. So make sure you check it out. It's available on all of the different podcast networks. So down here's the links or the little icons. It's on Spotify, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, and then also YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, right here on our channel, you can also listen to the podcast. And then it's also available on iHeartRadio. But yeah, that is all that I have for this week. So in this hot weather, try to stay cool and try to keep your garden cool. And of course, don't forget about our Garden of the Summer contest. So make sure you head over to our website, click the little banner at the top, and then send me a picture of your garden. And well, that is all that I have for this week. So until next time, keep growing.